Okay, for this lecture, what I want to go into is IES lights. Okay, well, IES lights, IES stands for Illuminating Engineering Society. Okay, so exactly what are IES lights? Well, basically, IES lights are the measurement of the distribution of light intensity. You can kind of think of it as a digital profile of a real-world light. Okay, so this is a way to take existing lights and have them distribute the light a specific way that fits the way lights work in a real world. Here's an example of a bunch of different IES curves. Okay, now IES comes in a little IES file, which is basically a little text file that you can load into your lights, and it tells them how to distribute the light. These are a bunch of examples. Now, when you first get it, you have a little top-down view, which will show you the distribution of the light. Okay, different curves give you different distribution, and then when you load them into the light, it gives you a different way that it disperses the lights. Okay, it's used a lot in architecture. Here's some examples. In nature, see how these lights are, these are called sconces, and how the light is bouncing off of the wall. That's what we're talking about, incorporating that light type of fixture. Okay, here's some other examples. Okay, these are all what we call sconces. They hang on the lights that hang on the wall, distribute the light like that. You can see there's some little small ones down here, little small lights shooting up. Here's a bedroom. See how these lights are bouncing off here, and specifically these lights up here. Okay. Another shot of some sconces on the interior. Here we got these little can lights, these little small lights inside the ceiling, and there as they shine out. Now, you'll be able to see the IES profiles more when the light is up next to an object than it is when it floats out in the center of a room. But IES are also used on exteriors, you can see here. So this is a way to kind of punch up your lighting for your architectural scenes. Here's another exterior. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing is IES lights inside of 3ds Max. Okay, so let's switch over here to Max, and what I have is a little scene set up, a little interior scene, and what I have is some IES lights set up in here. Okay, when rendered, you're going to get an image like this. So it's just a basic 3D Max setup. These are photometric lights. Okay, so if I actually go in here and click on one of these are all instances. And so what you'll see is you get a curve like this. Now this is a photometric light. So in your selection of a photometric light, okay, what you're doing is coming down here and picking a photometric web. When you pick photometric web, then you're just going to come up where you can load a curve in here, and then you can see the curve of distribution of that light. Okay, now on setting the color of a light, you can go down in here and you can use these presets. There's all kinds of presets in here. Okay, you can hit a preset. So this has got a kind of a warm light in here. You can hit another preset which will give you cool kinds of lights. But you're not stuck to those presets. You can come down here and dial in Kelvin, just like normal lighting is in Kelvin, so you can use either one of those. Now, these are all photometric lights that I've put in here. Okay, now it doesn't have to be a photometric light. It could be an Arnold light. You can do Arnold lights too. Okay, so if I turn these off, I've got a set of Arnold lights in here. Okay, and so I can light the scene with Arnold lights too. Okay, here's a rendering with the Arnold lights. Very similar to the other one. On an Arnold light, on your shape of an Arnold, it defaults to point. You'll come in here and you'll pick photometric. And once you pick photometric, then you load your IES curve right here. Now, Arnold really doesn't give you any kind of a distribution of the curve. You can't physically see what it is, but that's okay. I have a little utility to use where we kind of plan that out beforehand. Same thing on your color scheme up here. You've got presets for different kinds of actual lights, whether they're fluorescent lights or halogens. There's presets in here. And of course, you can also dial in your Kelvin colors as well. Okay. Then everything else on your light works the same. Your intensity and everything works the same to get the lights to be however intense you want it to be. And let's just go in here and let's set up our rendering, and we'll set it up for active shade using Arnold. And let's not get the quality set too high. And of course we want legacy. We don't want to use all the threads, so -1 here. And that size we'll do a little bit smaller here. And so we can render this. And you'll see your IES lights showing up in here. Okay. So the ones that I've got on right now are the photometric lights. So if we're in here and we decide, okay, we want to change the color and we want to go to a preset, let's go down to something like a cool metal halide. You'll see that'll give us a cooler light temperature in here. Okay. I can increase the intensity if I want to. And the curve was loaded right here. All of these have the same curve because I made them all as instances. Now you can make them as individual, put individual curves just according to whatever you want to do. Okay, so let's turn those off. And let's go over here to our Arnold lights. And let's turn those on. And then you'll see a similar thing with the Arnold lights. Got your intensity over here. I can change my colors. If I want more amber, 4800, something like that, we'll warm it up just according to what you want your look to be. So it's pretty easy to utilize IES lights in Macs. Arnold lights, photometric lights, both of those utilize and can be used. Okay, so there's a Arnold light render, and there's a Max light render. I have different curves, so they look different in here because there's a different curve set in this one than the curve that's set in this one. And that's why it looks a little bit different. And of course, the color temperature is the same. Okay, so IES is pretty easy to use. So let's just hide all of these. And so let's go to the front. And it's easy to do. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and turn all of these off. And we'll hide those, and we'll hide those. Okay, so it's pretty easy. Photometric, just make a light. Okay, target light. And I can't see that light because I've got that layer. Let's make us a new layer. So we'll just come over here and create a new layer. And we'll make our light on that layer. So just bringing our target down. And let's get it towards the back wall. So I'll limit my selection to lights, and we'll move this back here on this back wall. All right, let's move back. put it in there and it's really bright. Okay, so let's bring that down into some form of reality. Okay. Okay, and then I want to load an IES curve into it. So we go down here under light distribution. I change this to photometric web. Okay, then where it says choose photometric file. And let's see, I have one floating out right here. And let's bring our intensity back down. Get it back in our range here. Something about like that. So, pretty easy to do. Okay. You can rotate the light around too. I normally don't do that. I just select the actual object. Okay. Now, one thing that does happen is sometimes when you're putting these in, they'll switch to point lights. Okay. Now, I don't really like point lights because if you look in here, this gives you a really harsh shadow. So point lights don't give you an area shadow. Okay. I have a tendency to like these to be discs. Okay. Because then the scale of the disc will determine how soft the shadow is. So I have a tendency to like to use the discs myself. But it's up to you how you want to use them. Okay. Okay, so that's how we use IES lights. Okay, now I've got a little IES Viewer here. Okay, so this is the cool little software. It's just a little utility that allows you to see IES lights outside of Max. Okay, so it's a pretty cool little viewer. Okay. Okay, so let's on the PC D drive, my advanced lighting, and I have some IES files in here. Okay. So these are some curves. I'm going to put these up so that you guys can have access to them. But you'll see that when I click on one of these, it gets a curve distribution here. Okay. But what's cool is they've got a little button right here where you can render this. So you can actually see the light. Okay, you can move the light around. You can adjust how brightness it is. You can zoom in on it if you want to. And you can also move the light away from a wall. So the distance from the light to the wall. So this is a pretty cool little viewer. And then as you pick different curves, then you get different views in here. So this is a really cool little viewer to actually come in here and get a look of what your IES, what any of these profiles are. Then when you decide on one you like, if that's the one I like, okay, then I can load that one in to Max. So let's see here. Let's get rid of these. Turn that off. So right here, let's say we were in advanced lighting, IES files, and what was the one I liked? What was the number of it? Number 4. Okay, so I'm going to take number 4, load it in. Okay. And it's pretty bright. Just get it back down. And then according to, let's go in here. close the lights are to the back wall. And you're going to get that light distribution. Okay. Dial in whatever color I want. And IES lights. There you go. Change this to a disc. Soften the shadow up down at the bottom. Okay. So this little utility is really pretty cool. Allows you to interactively, see what's going on before you actually get into your software. The idea of different curves. Okay. So that's the IES Viewer. I'll have it linked down below. Okay, now some places that you can go and get IES files. Most light manufacturers, like here's the website for Philips. Most light manufacturers will have curves that you can go download. So if you go to their photometric part of their site, then they'll have all kinds of IES curves that you can just download. Okay, so halogen. Okay, these are different kinds of ones. They've got them linked up here, LEDs. Okay, so just copy these files. All you do is click on them, copy them. There's some other sites that are pretty good too. Now, I'm in Chrome and I'm going to switch to Firefox for this particular one, this over at Lithonia, because I tried it and I couldn't get these to open in Chrome. For some reason it doesn't like Chrome, but if you come over here too, I'm using Firefox. IE might work too. Then you come in here, different categories, then you open them up and then there'll be different curves in here, and then you just download them. Okay. So there's lots of sites that you can go, actual light manufacturers, where you can download IES profiles. Okay. Now there's another little utility that's pretty cool. So we're finished with this one. Okay, this is Creator IES, and this lets you create your own IES profiles. So it's pretty cool, more for the creative artists. So you've got a flat line right here, and then as you start dragging up on these, you can start creating your own IES profiles. Now you've got similar controls down here, brightness controls. Oops, that's a little too right. And the same thing we were doing before of how far from the wall. So this is a cool little deal if you want to get creative and make your own kind of little curves. It's pretty cool. Then you just save the IES file right there, and then you can load that in. So you can kind of make your own IES. Okay, and I'll put a link to this down also. So you can use pre-existing ones. That's kind of the normal way to go. But if you want to get creative, you can make your own IES profiles as well. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is Luminaires. Okay. Now, Luminaires are kind of a really interesting little device that you can use inside of Macs, which basically you can go to a site like this Urco site, which makes light fixtures. Now, before we were going to Philips, which made light bulbs, so they were curves of bulbs. These are people who sell light fixtures. So you can go over here to their website, and we can go to like products, and let's just pick new products, and a nice cool light fixture. Okay, so if we go down, if you scroll down, let's see, we can pick this one. It's got a base with it. It's pretty cool. Okay, now if we scroll down into this area down here at the bottom, okay, what they're going to have is different lights with different light distributions. Okay, so if we go down here, they have different ways that the lights can be used. So if I click on this flood, okay, then it's going to go down here. It's going to open me up different ones. Let's say I like this one. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And this is going to give us all our information about it, lighting curve and everything. So you can scroll down to the bottom, and here's your IES data. So I can click on this and I can download the IES data. Okay. But another thing cool right here is that where it says Autodesk Max, this is a Luminaire. So if I click on this, okay, I could actually download this. Okay, and I'll just download it. It's a Luminaire. And then I'll go in here and open this in Max. Okay, so the way this works, and let's just isolate this right now. Oops. Okay. So what this actually is the actual lamp. Okay, so it actually gives you the light itself with an IES attached to it. Now this is what's called a luminaire, which means it's an assembly system. So I can grab this target, and as I pull the target, the light's going to rotate in place wherever I want. Okay, so I can grab the whole thing, move it around, clone it, or whatever I want to do. Now, so basically you can kind of think of it that this is a unit, and then the target is a unit, and I can tell it to point, whatever. Okay, now the trick in getting to it, now it's got an intensity setting over here right off the bat. Okay, but if I want to load a curve into this, there's no way to load a curve. I can just control the intensity. Now, if you go up to groups and you go to assembly, this is what's called an assembly. This Luminaire is an assembly. So what you want to do is open it. Don't disassemble it. You want to open it. Okay. Once you open it, then you can get to the actual light, and then you can load your actual curve in and set the color and everything in here. Okay. Then once you get that set the way you want, of course, we're going to want that to be a ray trace shadow. Then you can go in here and then you can close the group. Okay, so now this can be move around, set wherever you want to, point it to however you want it to be pointed. And it's basically a light fixture, a 3D light fixture that you're downloading, along with the a light. Okay, it's a photometric light that's embedded together, all in what's called an assembly. Okay, and those are pretty cool to play with too. Okay. And so those, you can get those off several sites. This particular one is Urco, and they've got some pretty cool lamps. Okay, so that's another way that you can do it. A luminaire, which is basically a piece of geometry, what's called Max calls an assembly with a light, a photometric light built into it, and you can load your own IES curves, and then you have an actual device on there as well. Okay, so hopefully that kind of gave you an extended view, a little bit broader view of an IES light and how that might help you light your scenes. Okay, thank you.